If everyone could take their seats so we could start the meeting. We're going to start with the invocation. If everyone could stand. Let us bow our heads and remember we're in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we gather here before you and ask for you to bestow upon us wisdom so that we can do what's right for our citizens. We want to pray in a special way for some special members of our community. Sometimes when we pray for those in our community who have died, and sometimes we pray for the loved ones of those, because when people we care about mourn, we mourn with them. Tonight we mourn with and we pray for Councilmember Jeannie Black, whose sister passed away, Miss Lee Mumphrey Avocado. She had been sick and she was by her side throughout her illness and in her death. So we want to lift Councilmember Black up in prayer. We also want to pray for a special family that has not only populated the city of Kenner, but has been such a great part of leadership in our city. And that's Mr. Dan Levy. We pray for his family, the Hughes family, the Cusamanos, the Sirios, the Duprees, the Owens, the Pichons, the Knackeries, the 52 grandchildren, the 45 great-grandchildren, and all of those who live within the city, which encompasses half of those numbers, that we pray for their families on the passing of Mr. Dan Levy. And we also want to pray for those victims at Fort Hood. We ask that you be with those families as they mourn their own loss. We pray for our own first responders, for their safety, our firemen and our police officers. For these things and all your blessings, we ask in your name. Amen. Councilmember DeFrancis, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. Councilwoman Black is absent. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Madam Chairman, this evening we've received a request to amend the agenda to include item 18A at the request of Councilman Stagney, a discussion regarding code enforcement.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Carroll to suspend the council rules. All members please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Carroll to amend the agenda to include item 18A. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Please come forward now. Hearing none, all council members please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Madam Chairman, this evening we've also received a request from the Legal Department to include item 19A. At the request of the Legal Department, the reconsideration of Resolution Number B16469, adopted by the Kenner City Council on March 20th, 2014, which is Resolution Number B16469, a resolution approving change order number 2 in the amount of $2,198 and accepting as complete the contract with Southern Construction of Metairie, LLC regarding the construction of the AP Clay Gazebo and Area Enhancement, seal bid number 13-6124 for the Department of Community Development.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeNapolis to suspend the council rules. All members please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeNapolis to amend the agenda to include item 19A as read into the record. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to object? Please come forward now. Hearing none, all council members please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Under the consent agenda this evening, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of March 20th, 2014. Item 2, approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Friends of Rivertown on May 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th of 2014 at 303 Williams Boulevard, being property owned by the City of Kenner in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1810/14, Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of an Easter sunrise service on April 20th, 2014, from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. at LaSalle's Landing in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 1811-14, the City of Kenner to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a teen night on April 12, 2014, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Kenner Heritage Park/Exhibition Hall in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. We have none. Item 5 is acceptance or rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution accepting the responsive bid received from Game Day Apparel in the amount of $3,700.50 for the purchase of girls' all-star softball uniforms in accordance with telephone bid number T14-2146 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 5B is a resolution approving repairs to Skag Lawn Equipment in the amount of $3,083.50 by Vaughn's Power Equipment Incorporated, an authorized dealer of Skag equipment for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We have none.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan on consent. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,674, an ordinance authorizing a public hearing and approving amendment number 2 to the fiscal year 2007 Home Investment Partnership Grant allocation from the Jefferson Parish Home Consortium to the City of Kenner for the Department of Community Development. Madam Chairman, we've just received a request from the Community Development Department to defer this item for one meeting.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember DeFrancis to defer item 9A. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution requesting the Jefferson Parish Legislative Delegation to support House Bill 1244 relative to repealing the legislation creating the Southeast Regional Airport Authority and providing for related matters.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Brannigan. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. This legislation, I asked the city attorney to draft it after a conversation with State Representative Tom Wilmot, whose area encompasses the airport. As we all remember, back in 2008, there was a bill presented to the legislature by Representative Tucker, which took broad powers and gave it to the Southeast Regional Airport Authority. This body was in opposition to the bill, or at least wanting them to put a Kenner representative on that body. They had broad, expansive expropriation power through 3 parishes. They could, under the guise of airport use, say, hey, Chateau Country Club, we're going to expropriate you. We would lose the taxing authority over there, any zoning authority. The bill was very, very broad. It took away some of the zoning rights that we had, and the people who were directly impacted by this, the Kenner citizens, had nobody that was elected by them that could stop the process. There was a letter to the editor that we put as a body announcing that we wanted these things put in the bill. Representatives Tom Wilmot and Tony Legge took a great deal of time and effort, had a floor fight in the House of Representatives to get some of what we wanted on. The bill passed. They have been in parallel jurisdiction with the Aviation Board, the New Orleans Aviation Board, and as I understand it, GNO Inc., who first wanted the Southeast Regional Airport Authority in place, has asked for it to be repealed. They haven't met in nearly a year, and it looks like things at the airport are going in a direction that they're happy with the Aviation Board that's in place. I'm only too happy to try to get a resolution up there on behalf of our citizenry that They don't have to have the heavy-handedness of non-elected people looking to expropriate property in our city that we have no right or control to stop them. I would ask for your support. Representative Wilmot had asked for us to do this so that when he brings it up on the floor, first in the committee, then on the floor, that he would have support from this body. So I would ask for your support.
Thank you, Councilmember Stagney. Hearing no further discussion, council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is a resolution accepting as complete the contract with Bow Brothers Construction Company, LLC, regarding the Williams Boulevard boat launch repairs. Madam Chairman, we've received a request from Councilmember Moreno for a one-meeting deferral, please.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Brannigan on a one-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the purchase of 50-year license for the film Dream to Fly in the amount of $5,015 from Loch Ness Productions for the Kenner Planetarium and Megadome Summer. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Advanced Quality Construction Incorporated in the amount of $750,372.20 for improvements to existing Chateau Palmer wastewater lift station 4304 in accordance with seal bid number 14-6196 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Signal Equipment Company South for the purchase of traffic signal parts on an as-needed basis in accordance with seal bid number 14-6200 in an amount not to exceed $25,000 per year for the Department of Public Works. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Economical, Janitorial, and Paper Supplies, LLC, for a 6-month contract to supply copy paper for various City of Kenner departments as per telephone bid number T14-2148 in an amount not to exceed $10,000. Item 16E is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of two 2014 Ford Expeditions from Lamarck Ford utilizing Jefferson Parish contract number 55-000137770 in an amount of $76,728 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16F is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 409096 for the purchase and installation of cubicle workstations at the Kenner-owned facility located at 1801 Williams Boulevard from Associated Office Systems in the amount of $16,637.02 for the Inspection and Code Enforcement Department. Item 16G is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish contract number 55-13945 with BLD Services LLC for the preventive maintenance of existing sanitary and storm sewers, including service laterals at various locations in the City of Kenner on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $2 million annually for the Department of Public Works. Item 16H is an ordinance amending sections 7-2, 7-77, 7-95, 7-96, 7-98, 7-99, 7-100, 7-123, and 7-127 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kenner, Louisiana, to adjust certain value thresholds and penalties, to establish the offensive battery of a police officer, and to provide for related matters. Item 16I is an ordinance levying the annual tax millage rates for the year 2014 totaling 17 50/100 mills on the dollar of the assessed valuation of all taxable property within the corporate limits of the City of Kenner, Louisiana on the 2014 tax roll. Madam Chairman, in accordance with revised statute 42:19.1 enacted by Act 267 of the State of Louisiana, we have to announce that this ordinance will be heard at the May 15th council meeting. Item 16J is an ordinance ratifying and approving the utilization of Jefferson Parish contract number 55-000140886 with Bow Brothers Construction Company, LLC, for repairs to the West Esplanade Avenue Bridge over the Duncan Canal in an amount not to exceed $40,000 for the Department of Public Works. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Okay, I just wanted to make mention of two things. One, our council clerk just read into the record item 16I, and why we can't discuss it. It's an ordinance waiting to be heard at a future meeting in May. This was the ordinance that we were required to put on record in a certain format as changed in state law a year ago, and last year we kind of caught everybody off guard, and we had to, again, put it on the agenda for it to lay over and be announced when it would be heard, to be more specific about when your property tax millages would be heard at your local jurisdiction level. So for anybody who is interested, item 16I will be heard at our, was it May 16th meeting? Is that correct? Yes, okay. And then the other thing, I kind of accidentally attended a meeting the other day, which I wasn't necessarily supposed to be invited to, but I was glad that it turned out to be a mistake. My assistant has now gone over to code enforcement, and a lot of my invitations still go to her email. So when this invitation came to her email, it was forwarded to my office, and I accepted, thinking that they wanted me at this meeting, when in fact it was for her own information. So in any event, it turned out to be a good thing, because we met with an individual who does a curbside recycling program. And the purpose of the meeting was not to, for us to promote this is a private business, not for us to promote it, but to discuss with this new business owner if there will be any regulations on him, because there's kind of no ordinances to really regulate what he does. And the more we talked about it, he does what a lot of other businesses do, pick up things and leave the city. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that come to offices and do, what am I looking for? Shredding on site and remove that, and there's nothing regulating them coming in and out of the city. There's UPS trucks come in and make deliveries and pick up things and take them out all the time. So I know our code enforcement director had done a lot of research and continues to, because there may in the future be something that we need to consider with this type of business, to see what other jurisdictions have done. Typically, when we had a recycling program, it was done under the garbage collection, and so therefore they were regulated by our contract for ways that they did things and ways that they could behave and things they couldn't do in times of operation. But anyway, this is a private business. It's kind of exciting because we've had such a response to people wanting to have more access to recycling. It's cost prohibitive, and we haven't heard from those who don't recycle that they actually want to pay for a service that they're not using. So we've kind of been caught in a limbo. This is actually something you can subscribe to as a homeowner. It costs $2.50 a week, so that's about $10 a month, and you get a bin, and they take most items like we do in our drop-off sites in the city of Kenner. No glass, but there's a long list of things that they accept, and there's a long list of things that they do not accept. And the things they don't accept are not that they want to not be able to accommodate, but there's certain items that just cost a whole lot of money to recycle or are not safe. For instance, the glass, on their no list, there's no needles, no syringes, no window panes, things that could have some sort of corrosive material. So it's not that restrictive. It should be more common sense things, but just to be clear, they have a not accepted list. And then the accepted list are your normal metal cans, aluminum cans, cardboard, beer holders, the six-packs that are the cardboard boxes, cartons, broth cartons, milk cartons. So your normal everyday things. But it was interesting when you talk to somebody who's more familiar with how recycling impacts a community, and we all know that it's an effort towards being more green, but we don't necessarily always have the statistics to know what it does to impact us. But if everyone would recycle, we would reduce 60% of our waste going to landfills. And that in itself is a huge number and unimaginable, and in return would save citizens money because we pay good money to dump in landfills, and we pay by weight. So if 60% of that was reduced, then you can imagine what it would do to our collection costs. So this private company who is going to be offering this service sometime starting in mid-May and they're going to try to control the rollout and take on as, areas and be able to be as responsive depending on the demand. So obviously, they need to plan for trucks and bins and all of those things. So if you want information on contracting personally with a recycling company, you can call 1-800-387-JOIN. And then they also have a website, www.joinrecycling.com. You can go, they have a Facebook page, so there's a lot of ways that you can find them, and perhaps we can put this information on our website, or, we invited the businessman to be here this evening, but we told him around 6 o'clock, but we kind of moved through the agenda very rapidly, so if he does come later, perhaps we'll still be here and I'll let him speak. So I was excited to hear about it, but I was more excited to hear the impact this could make for our community and wanted to share those numbers, because if that doesn't get you thinking, then you're just not going to be one of those people who participates. So again, 1-800-387-JOIN. Councilmember DeNapolis. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to remind, it's another Friday during Lent, and the Divine Mercy at this church site on Salentini Boulevard at Joe Yenny. The Knights of Columbus Council will be doing a fish fry, so please come hungry and feed as many people as you want, because the donations for that do go to the operations of the church. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeNapolis. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Clerk. Oh,
yes, ma'am.
excuse me, wait. Did you got something? Okay. Stall on that. Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And this is for Mr. Gonzalez. There is a project, and it's not the city of Kenner, it's the Jefferson Parish Water Department on Washington Street in the Lincoln Manor subdivision that has been going on for maybe 2, possibly 3 months. And there is no indication of how long it will be, or what actually, is there an additional problem? And I'm sorry I didn't call you before the meeting to get additional information, but what information you have right now, would appreciate to be able to pass through the community. And also, if you have, don't have exact information tonight, if I can talk to you tomorrow about that. If you could fill us in on what exactly is going on.
I really do not have any information regarding a waterworks project on Washington, but I'll be glad to get the information for you tomorrow as far as what's going on and when will the project be completed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Gonzalez, I've gotten several calls regarding the work on Veterans Boulevard, the Indiana Veterans Lift Station. What is the date of completion? I thought it was going to be at the beginning of the end of last month, maybe beginning of this month. Are we still looking at a lot more time?
We're looking probably mid-May.
Mid-May? During that whole time period, are they still going to require the lanes being blocked off?
That's correct, for the most part. Yeah. Now, as we approach mid-May and they finish that lift station, then we may be able to open that extra lane. But right now, I think we're looking for total completion by mid-May. That's weather permitting.
And this lift station improvement, it's designed to increase the pumping capacity of that lift station, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And, all right, thank you. Also, the last 2 meetings I've mentioned about the street panels and possibly some asphalt work done in Morningside Park, everything from West Metairie to Airline. I saw that your department did go out, mark up the streets. Do you have a fund form for my office for $125,000?
Well, first, we corrected a manhole problem on Roosevelt. I think
Yes,
had
thank you
mentioned
very
that.
much.
That has been corrected. And 2, 3 days ago, I think I sent you an email with all the panels that have been delineated to be removed and replaced with a cost. And I believe I asked you whether, if you were agreeable, that we would prepare the necessary fund form. And I think it was in the neighborhood of $130,000.
No, I'm agreeable. I wanted to find out because I signed a fund form several weeks ago, and I wanted to know if it got to your office for 125 before I even knew what the final amount would be.
Okay.
Do you want me to, we'll reconcile the difference, or do you want me to just do a different fund form for the total amount that you sent me?
Well, I still got to send you a fund form for the asphalt work that is still being estimated. So what I can do right now is give a notice to proceed to the
Yes.
contractor for the $131,000 worth of work, even though you signed one for 125, but I do understand that you'll make up the difference.
Okay, so I'll give you a fund form tomorrow afternoon for the difference between what I've already written and the other.
And then I'll send you another one for the asphalt work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Hold on. Item 18 is new business. Item 18A, at the request of Councilman Stagney, a discussion regarding code enforcement.
Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Recently, we had a 35-year employee retire out of code enforcement. One, I'd like to congratulate her on her retirement and her 35 years with the city. Two, though, I'd like to find out from the administration, as I understand this, and correct me if I'm wrong, this young lady worked for the city for 35 years and attained a certain salary after 35 years. We hired somebody to replace her who had, if any, very little code enforcement experience for the exact same salary that the exiting assistant director was making. Is that accurate?
To tell you the truth, I don't sign the PAs. I'm not sure of that. Ms. Newton is saying yes.
When we interview for these positions, are we asking for some experience within code when we're looking to hire somebody? I mean, I find it unbelievable, and I'm sure the employee who left probably was not appreciative of the salary she was getting if we hiring somebody off the street for the same salary that this person took 35 years to attain.
Anytime we have an employee leave, we reevaluate job descriptions to see how they're going to best fit the department and the needs that we have. When we go through that evaluation, we evaluate salaries at the same time to what's comparable. Usually it's lower than what's comparable in the market. Essentially, what the code enforcement department needed at this time was somebody with experience in administration, somebody who could run the office. I guess somebody who was more relative to relating to our code enforcement officers. And I believe Mr. Rick Walther meets those qualifications as an ex-police officer.
That ex-police officer, what experience did he have in code enforcement since we were hiring for an assistant director in code enforcement?
The police department works directly with our code enforcement department, so they have lots of experience noting and recognizing our ordinances.
Mr. Walther, who we hired, has experience in code enforcement through his work in the police department?
I'm sure he's dealt with issues relative to code enforcement. We did, in the interview process, ask him for similar examples, like you would with anyone in an interview process. What job experience do you have relative to this position? And he provided several good examples.
Well, my understanding is there was no experience within code enforcement. One of the reasons why the assistant director, as I understand it, decided to retire was because we were bringing in people who she had to train for jobs that were above her, and she was never offered the same opportunity in that position that the people she was training. So she was not, and I'm speaking in a conversation that I had with her.
Our
I'll let her-
application processes are always open. I believe that the job was publicly posted, and if somebody would apply, we would interview them. The person you're referring to never applied for that position.
Okay. As you evaluate one position within city government and try to correlate it with maybe outside of our government or private business, one of the problems that's occurring, and I've heard from several employees, the morale within our administration, the administrative employees, the ones that work under you guys, they're upset when they see new people coming in making a higher salary because, yes, you may have evaluated and adjusted that salary for that position and did it because you tried to correlate with private business or some other governmental entity, but the rest of the employees who have been working for this city, their salaries were not adjusted. So it creates an imbalance, and again, on the face of it, somebody who worked here for 35 years, who had a mountain of experience, exits the position, and a person that comes in that has little or no experience within code enforcement gets the same salary. That tends to send a bad message to our employees. But I want to also talk about what I saw in the paper with regard to an employee, without getting into too much, because I know the administration is going to say that this is a personnel issue. If we have an employee with the city that maybe runs a stop sign or goes around a crossing guard, is our first penalty for that termination?
I think you answered it initially. We're not going to discuss that. I mean, that's the reason for civil service. We are not going to discuss that at all.
Well, according to the paper, that appears to be, we're going to lose some good inspectors with the city who are certified and credentialed. This employee was certified. I think we only have one other inspector under that license or certification. And as you mentioned meetings ago, and I've mentioned several times, the only one that has that, Mr. Mohammed, is so busy it's not even funny. So now we lose an employee who is well credentialed, certified to do the work that we need done as a governmental body, and they are hard to come by. The other inspectors we have are not certified in that area. My point being this, I don't know too many places that if somebody runs a stop sign or a crossing guard, and I'm not saying that it was right or wrong, I'm saying if somebody needs driving classes or there's some level of remediation to that problem, maybe we ought to look towards doing that instead of losing good people.
I don't think it's appropriate to speak about that right now.
Well, the paper's speaking about it and others. I'd like to know if the administration has a zero tolerance with every employee or just this employee.
Okay, I'm just going to, at this point, ask Mr. Gruntz if you will direct the, when...
Yes,
when the-
I would suggest that we stop this conversation altogether. I mean, the employee himself has individual privacy rights, and until an appeal is filed, the appeal process is the proper forum to make any of these comments and discussions. So I would recommend for the city, everyone in the city, to just make no further comments on this topic whatsoever.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gruntz. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
I would, we recently had Jerry Dillenkoffer, retire from a department, and, he was basically second in charge of our public works. I mean, and typically on the same note, we do have qualified person, and a particular qualified person in that department that can easily fill those shoes, okay? And I can tell you when I've talked to several people in this council, that hopefully when you evaluate, all the people that come to replace him, there is one person that you really, really should consider, and I would be shocked if you don't consider that individual. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, Council Clerk?
Item 19, under unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. Item 19A, at the request of the Legal Department, the reconsideration of Resolution B16469 adopted by the City Council on March 20th, 2014, which is a resolution approving change order number 2 in the amount of $2,198 and accepting as complete the contract with Southern Construction of Metairie LLC regarding the construction of the A.P. Clay gazebo and area enhancement, sealed bid number 13-6124 for the Department of Community Development. Madam Chairman, just to clarify, there is just 2 blanks that needed to be filled in this legislation that were omitted, so we're going to reconsider it, fill in the blanks, and readopt it.
Okay, so we'll allow Councilmember Carroll and seconded by Councilmember Brannigan for reconsideration of the item. Council members, please vote for reconsideration.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to reconsider.
So it is now on the floor. And are you going to read in the amendments?
Yes, ma'am. Under Section 2, we're going to be inserting mortgage book number, can you tell me? You don't have the new piece up? Pull up the new piece. Just 1 second, Madam Chairman, please. Community Development. Drag down. Under Section 2, we will be inserting mortgage book number 4609 and page 38.
Those are the only two amendments?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Brannigan on the two amendments. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to amend.
And for approval, is Councilmember Carroll, second by Brannigan. Council members, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 20 is person wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Yes, we have a few. Mr. A.J. Giordano.
Good evening. My name is A.J. Giordano. I live at 3518 California Avenue.
you.
What I'm here tonight is hoping to find some solution to a problem I've been having for a long time. And this problem is been the illegal parking of vehicles on the sidewalks. I had been working with the code department trying to get this going. It's been a slow process, but as of a few weeks ago, I've been informed that the code department is no longer going to be able to do any, citations or nothing, I believe, and they're not going to handle this. It's been thrown to the police department. So I said, fine, I'll start giving my issue, complaints to the police department. Well, I've met with pretty much resistance instead of assistance from the police department so far from the get-go. I've had saying they don't, officers say this, they don't believe this is a problem. Had one that say, you can't write a couple of citations when there's hundreds of them down the street. They look down the street and say hundreds. I say, exactly right. Why aren't you writing them? It's against the law, And the last one, that response was troubling, was that the sergeant told me that Chief Caraway instructed them that anybody parking on the drive, if they're in the driveway, blocking the sidewalk, they will not be issued a citation. So that's my last response. So I'm not getting any, satisfaction there. I've been trying, I find this as it's a safety and a code of life thing, and it's also a law. And I'm trying to, y'all, to maybe somebody come up with a solution, what's going to happen, or some kind of guidance along this route. The sidewalks are for children to ride their bikes on, it's for pedestrians, it's for disabled. It's not for cars, to be parking on. That's the law, it's code of ordinance, it's written in there, simple. There's no exceptions to it, There's plenty of options to people, just like me. I park one of my vehicles on the street. Or a lot of people have double driveways now they put in, or a circle driveway. There's always options here, but it's gotten so rampant. I believe y'all, I've sent y'all the pictures and the correspondence I've had, so you know how dedicated I am to this.
Okay, I think a
Any-
couple people want to respond to you unless you have more, because you have more
No.
time. Okay?
I believe I was covered
Okay.
what's going on.
Second. Ms. Newton? Oops, sorry.
That was my request to speak later on.
Oh, you
behind
want
everyone
to
else.
speak later on? Okay,
Thank you.
then let me get to the rest. Mr. Rayno?
Thank you, Madam President. Code is supposed to issue warnings or whatever on blocking sidewalks, and the police department is supposed to respond. Is that correct?
No, sir. It is not a code enforcement. Enforcement lies with the police in terms of that. I've spoken with Mr. Giordano, and I'm trying to work with him in terms of working with the police department and maybe revising that specific ordinance for enforcement so that maybe we can have some type of dual jurisdiction so that the code enforcement officers would have some authority to write parking tickets, things of that nature, maybe initially do some warning. I've actually gone down Mr. Giordano's street with a copy of that ordinance indicating that you're not to park on the sidewalks. However, again, it's not under the auspices of code enforcement. The enforcement provision is with the police. So, that's one of the things I want to work with the new chief is to see if we can revise the ordinance to give us some authority to start issuing parking tickets or violations or warnings or something of that nature to kind of ease that, because Mr. Giordano is not the only one who has complained of it. It's throughout the districts that we have this issue, and I think the police are tied down with other things that they're doing within law enforcement. So this might alleviate some of those calls that they're receiving, and we can take those because our road guys are on the road doing that to begin with.
Okay, and thank you for, I failed to thank you first for coming, and I know you've been to my home already when we had coffee and desserts, because I do that, for my constituents, for District 3 residents. And we've also met in the mayor's office as well, and we've had other meetings about this. The blocking of the blocking of the sidewalks, are you talking about for your block only? Are you trying to police all of Green Lawn?
No, I'm trying the whole city of Kenner.
Okay.
It's rampant. I moved out here in 1966, and there was no problem such as this. And it's gotten, right now, these past few years here, it has gotten so bad. I have given a list to the interim director, Conley, and in 3 streets, there's 85 violations. I've been putting a lot in. I got pictures I send in, and I put a lot of effort into this.
Okay.
And if you say, 85 in 12 blocks, 85 parking violations. And I took pictures of them and sent them into them. And here, this has been going on for a very long time, and it's still there. In my block, I've got a little bit of going on, things going on because the police department did go out there and verbally, after my, strenuous, saying, begging them. They would go out there and give a verbal warning. Nobody's been written. One ticket's been written.
Amy, can we meet with the chief? Can we set up a meeting with the chief and
Yes, sir.
and discuss?
I spoke with him about 2 weeks ago, not Chief Caraway, but Chief Glazer, to set up a meeting so that we can talk about that. But Mr. Gruntz wants to also research if we have the jurisdiction to do that as well. There may be some issues along that line. So we have to get all the legal aspects of it before we can do anything. But I'd love to meet with the chief so that we can kind of work on something
If
to
you would
address
give
it.
us a little time to address this, because it seems like it's an issue between code and the police department, give us a little bit more time to address
I
it.
have been. This is
Well,
going on for months.
We'll work on it.
I understand
So
that.
That's what I can tell you.
I've even suggested, at the meeting, I've suggested to put out a pamphlet, and the mayor has passed it off to the code enforcement about, the mailer, going out to the residents. It's on her budget. And it's not necessarily the government's, duty to inform people about the laws, but it's so rampant that I thought maybe this would be something to get started, you see. But Director Vallow, she's been kind of stuck with it on her budget. I'm kind of asking if this is a citywide thing, wouldn't maybe the council districts would chip in on a mailer, this.
Well, we want to look into who's the enforcement issue before we start putting out,
Right.
a mailer and all that. We want to make sure that we'll have a resolution. A mailer's not going to keep anybody from
No.
blocking the sidewalk with their vehicle. So, I mean, it may inform them of what the law is, but it's not going to make them stop. you
No,
know?
it's not.
They have stop signs at not every corner, but they have stop signs at corners, but people don't always stop. So, let us get together and see if we can work out who is going to enforce the ordinance that's on the books.
It is the book says somebody's got to do it, because when I sit there and the police, I call them out, and here it is. I got pictures of it, there it is, and they won't write it, So
Okay.
I'm getting pretty much resistance on that end, so.
All I'm asking for is a little bit more time, sir. Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember DeFrancis.
I have a quick question, Ms. Phillip. I'm sorry.
Okay, 1 second, I'll give you a mic.
Went on.
There you go. No, it's on.
It's on? Okay.
Oh, don't,
I'm sorry. If it's an object other than a car, and I can think of a few objects that could partially or completely block the sidewalk, can the code enforcement department then issue a citation
It's a police action.
on any
I
object?
believe
That's
it
what I
is
wanted
any
to double check.
Obstruction of the sidewalk. I'll have to double check for you, but I think
I
it
know with the
addresses
right.
sidewalks, but I think it's a police action as opposed to a enforcement action.
I know because we had a problem in our block too with someone who was always blocking the sidewalk and it was danger for the children to go, down the street. I talked to this gentleman directly. He was relatively new and we were able to address it one-on-one, but that doesn't always happen. But, and that's why I was trying to find out. I didn't really, while I was listening, I was thinking if we do have any provision at all in our code enforcement that allows us to cite homeowners who have objects other than cars partially blocking a sidewalk, then there might be a way around it. That's why I asked the question. Could you double check though for me?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Giordano, I want to thank you and your wife for coming tonight, and also thank you for sending me the information of all the research that you've done on this, and I appreciate that, to have the opportunity to read through it. Also, this is one of these things that cross over from district to district. Even though it's on California Street, obviously it's a concern for District 1, 2, 4, and 5 also, especially as it relates to children. I will say that within District 1, it's not as rampant, people blocking sidewalks, and I think it's maybe because of the construction or the configuration of people's houses. When it does happen, we tend to go next door and say, listen, you're blocking the sidewalk, and most time is okay. The bigger problem is people parking their cars not in the blocking driveways. Now, that is something that happens, and the police will come out immediately and address that. And when people block the sidewalk, they tend to stay overnight. It's like a parking lot, parking lane, and it's not, and they park it in the yards. So that is in itself is something else, and I believe within District 1, that is one of the concerns that we're having. People parking multiple vehicles in yards, in the front yards. They don't block the sidewalk, but they park in the front yards. So it all comes together, and it's something that we need to look at, obviously, to address from a safety standpoint. And that's what it's all about, regardless of what area it's in. All of us are concerned about, obviously, our specific district, but the whole city as a whole. And I'd like to thank you for bringing this up, but we need to address this. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you. Amy, the code committee that we have established, aren't they discussing this exact item?
They are, and I was just about to bring that up. We've had many discussions with regard to code within the committee. Also, additionally, Mr. Hebert, they've been working on the comprehensive zoning ordinances, and a lot of these issues will be addressed within the new CZO. So it's coming together. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but I understand Mr. Giordano's frustration. It's shared by people throughout each of the individual districts. I get countless phone calls with regard to parking on sidewalks. It's an impediment for children, for people in wheelchairs. So it's definitely a problem that needs to be addressed.
Right, and I mean, and maybe we can, some of those things, at least fast track the legislation or some sort that will allow or do the research. Mr. Gruntz can do the research so that we have all that done ahead of time before we accept this CZO and all this, because in my estimation, I would prefer, and Mr. Giordano, this is not anything that deteriorates quality of life issues need to be corrected, and I agree with you. But on the other hand, I'd prefer our police doing other things with their time, okay? I think this is a perfect, item for the code to handle and just have code handling it, okay? I prefer the police, chasing after people like the hit and run that they hit me 2 weeks ago, piled in the back of me and took off, okay? So I'd prefer them handling those things. So it's a better play on using our city resources effectively, and I would really like to see code handling this and the police handling more other matters, okay? But like, once again, Mr. Dan, I'm telling you, anything that deteriorates our quality of life here in Kenner needs to be addressed, and I think we really need to find some area in the law, Mr. Grunts, where we can tack on, where code can actually, cite these people and bring them to court,
Of
okay?
that specific ordinance,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you. I agree with you, Mr. Annapolis. Amy, would you say your last name, because it was said 3 times in 3 different ways?
It's Vallow, the T is silent.
Vallow. Okay,
Or if you're in
You-
central Louisiana, it would be Vallow.
Vallow. Well,
Oh.
we'll call you Vallow.
Vallow.
And it's just too sophisticated that people don't know how to say it, so they avoid saying it by calling you by your first name, I
And
think.
that's not a problem.
Well, okay, thank you. Okay. Ms. Debbie Giordano, did you wish to speak? Okay. Moral support, huh? Mr. Al Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 42 years. I want to revisit a question that I asked Councilwoman DeFranchise at the last council meeting. It seems like you had a little problem understanding the question, Councilwoman DeFranchise, so let me see if I can simplify that a little bit for you. First, I want to say back at the February 20th meeting, Councilwoman Brannigan, you stated, we talking about the bar now relative to the bar in the show. You stated that they had a sign hanging over the door saying that the state liquor license has been applied for. So now my question to you, Councilwoman DeFranchise, is that bar in fact selling liquor with a sign hanging on the door saying that the state liquor license has been applied for? Because according to the Kenner Star, that facility's been open since December the 13th. Now, if they selling liquor, I'd like to know if they selling liquor, if they open, and what's the status on the liquor license? Now, the point I'm trying to make here, if in fact they are selling liquor, Taqueria Sanchez had their liquor license revoked, and rightfully so, because of some of the activities that was going on over there. But that's the reason why I'm asking this question, that we can't revoke one liquor license, which rightfully so, that it needed to be revoked, and allow another establishment to sell liquor without a liquor license. That's the point I'm trying to make, and that's the question I want to direct to you. Now, I want to say this, Councilman Stagney, you and Councilman Annapolis, I agree with y'all 100%. I've always believed in promoting from within. Now, if there are positions that are open in any of our departments, I believe it should be offered to someone who served the city well, someone who's qualified that can do the job. Now, once it's offered and they don't want it, then we have to go outside the department and fill the job. But I, too, believe that we always should promote from within.
Okay.
Can you freeze my time, Michelle Brannigan, and let
I sure
Councilwoman
will.
DeFranchise respond?
How you know she wants to respond?
I don't know. She's looking.
She does.
I think she
Councilmember
understands the
DeFrancis.
question this time. Well, I can't talk
Wait,
up,
wait, wait.
Councilwoman DeFranchise.
I was just going to say your phraseology was not quite appropriate. I did not appreciate the way you asked the question, but I will be happy to answer it for you nevertheless. After the last meeting, I went to the theater myself to verify whether or not they were open and whether or not they were selling alcohol. The answer is they were not selling alcohol. They have applied for a license. They have not received it yet. Therefore, it would have been illegal, and believe me, I would have called the police immediately if they were selling alcohol. And the answer is no, they are not, nor were they. I did talk to the manager there to verify that as well. That's number one. Number two, did they apply for a license? Yes, they did. Number three, did I verify that there were other theaters throughout the area that are selling, that do have a bar-like situation? The answer is yes, they are. They do sell alcohol at the others. I don't drink, so it doesn't make any difference to me about that.
Neither
Wait,
do I.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Okay? So, again, are they selling alcohol? No. Have they applied for a license? Now, I also made another point to him, that under no circumstances should that be considered a regular bar where people are going to go sit there and drink and sit there and continue to drink. Okay? That was one of the things that would have bothered me enormously, that if this is just a bar within the theater, but that's really not the purpose, I was told, that they do sell alcohol at all the other theaters in the area. This would not be unique, but nevertheless, that they would not have it as a, come and sit there and continue to drink. Finally, you are comparing apples and oranges. Taqueria Sanchez was a disgusting, disgusting issue for the city of Kenner. Let me tell you, they had B-girls, they had prostitution, they had everything else going on. And I thought that was disgusting. It should have been addressed. They should have been closed, and they should never again open in this city. I don't think there's one person in this audience that would tolerate that kind of business taking place in the city of Kenner. This is a respectable area, and we should never, never tolerate such a thing. You're comparing apples and oranges. For someone to have a drink at a theater, as opposed to have someone who tries to sell drinks and prostitution, I don't think that's a valid comparison. And I'll tell you what, I will fight to the end to get rid of those type of businesses in this city, and I will support you, and I think you'll support me in doing so.
You done, Councilwoman
Yes.
DeFrances? First of all, let me repeat, because evidently there's something you didn't grasp here. I'm not comparing apples to oranges. I'm not comparing anything. If you were listening to my opening comments, you would have heard me say that they deserve to lose their liquor license. No one's defending what was going on over there. I told you they deserve to lose their liquor license. All I was trying to find out if the other bar in the show was operating without a liquor license. That's a simple question. But no one's comparing no apples to oranges. All I'm saying is I'm trying to make sure that the law applies to everyone equally. That's all. No one's condoning what was going on in Taqueria Sanchez. You can't turn nothing around on me, so don't even try it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morello.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown.
I just don't want anyone in this audience to think that I thought Mr. Morello was tolerating that, accepting that, or approving of that. I simply meant that you don't bring up something as heinous as Taqueria Sanchez in the same sentence, that's all. And nothing more, Mr. Morello. I did not imply you approved it.
Mr. Larry Daigle.
Go Saints, yeah. Larry Daigle, 4128 Tulane, Kenner, Louisiana, 5th District, Councilman Annapolis. Mr. Keith, you wasn't here. I want to congratulate you for getting your seat back. Maria, congratulations. Joe, we're going to miss you. And now, hey, goodbye, Miss Brannigan. I just want to remind everybody to get out and vote. And I want to congratulate all you people running for election. Good luck to all of y'all. And Ms. Amy, you're doing a great job behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see it. And I want to congratulate these people on the first 2 rows on this side and this side for a great job what they do from behind the scenes. A lot of people don't see what they do, but they do a hell of a job. And I want to, everybody say a good prayer for Mr. Ronnie. He's going back and have surgery, get a stent taken out on the 29th, he said. Everybody say a prayer for him. Good luck. And don't forget to get out and vote. It's our city. If y'all don't vote, y'all ain't got no reason to bitch. Good night.
Thank you. Ms. Newton?
I just wanted to advertise, I'm sure everyone saw the public gathering for Teen Night. I know the Youth Council, when they gave their last presentation, spoke about it, and we've ironed out details. We do have a rain plan. It will be April 12th, rain or shine. $10 will get you all sorts of activities in Heritage Park. It's a good way for teens to get out, starting at 5 o'clock, doing activities up until Pitch Perfect, which will show at 8 p.m. And again, they are looking to raise money to rebuild the playground equipment at Veterans Park. There will be legislation coming to dedicate their funds on future agenda, and I hope the community will come out and support them.
Thank you. And thank you for all your work with them. I know that you have your own family and your own interests, and we're just lucky that you have given them the time and made them your interests. So we thank you very much for that. No one else to address the council? Meeting is adjourned.